don't mind the crazy hairdo and all the mud. It's time for us to be outside playing in the garden. It's a little overcast, but in between the rain, the slight drizzly showers and the overcast skies, it's actually a really great time to plant things because they're not going to get sun scorched or scalded. They're not going to get burned with the sun. It's also not too cold, so things are not going to get shocked. Now is a great time to plant. Overcast, drizzly, rainy days are actually a really good, albeit somewhat uncomfortable if you're like all soaking wet. But you know what? If you're in a garden, you got to get used to it, especially if you're in the Pacific Northwest. Weather happens. You know, back in the day, it's not like someone would say, oh, it's a little drizzly out today. Or I guess we're not going to take care of the farm animals or, you know, any of that kind of stuff. So you just got to do what you got to do. Look at my crazy hair. But I'm actually getting a lot done. I started the day off thinking I'm going to do all these new projects. And when I came outside, I realized I had a lot of things I was already like midway through. So let me go ahead and show you what we've got going on the garden today. So this area is a work in progress. You can see we had to move everything off to the side. Whew. But I've been digging up strawberries and mint. And of course I'm not going to waste it. I'm just going to put them in pots and move them elsewhere. I actually got some of the thornless blackberry roots too. You can see in here, there's some in here. I'm going to move those somewhere else. This rose of Sharon is several years old. I mean, it's probably 10 years old, but it's really stunted because it was in the ground competing with all the weeds and the grass. The grass is a weed. So we decided to put it into one of these large pots. And I can't find the drainage holes, but we actually drilled drainage holes on the sides so that they're not completely dried out. And now this plant is going to do a lot better. You can see that it's actually kind of variegated. It's very pretty. I actually planted this in honor of my Aunt Sharon. So it's going to be beautiful. It's going to come back. It's going to do really great. And we just put some, it looks really bad, but we're going to rinse this off. It's going to look so much better. I will do more updates to show you how this area progresses over time. Here's a view from this direction. And definitely work in progress, but this area got totally out of control. So we moved all the pots off and we are up potting things into nicer containers. My husband came over and mowed all this area down, and I'm not going to try to like grow in the ground here. I'm going to just be growing in containers. That way we can easily move them off to the side and mow. I think I'm going to propagate some of these succulents since I see some roots forming. I'm preparing these pots so I can put some cuttings and other plants into them. I propagated 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 containers of these, multiple plants per container, and you wouldn't even know the parent plant looks almost as full as it did before. So you can't even tell. I took cuttings from this and I just punched them with my fingernail and they were already growing roots. So I'm really excited. This will be something else I add to my plant sale. This is an Arctic kiwi. It's either Anna or Isai, something like that. I have both kinds, I'm not sure, but this is new. This is a first. Look at those. That is super exciting. It looks like the first flower buds that this plant has ever had. I am thrilled. Thrilled! Sometimes my husband brings me a gift of a pile of soil and now I need to move it. It's just like, why right here, honey? Why right here? So I'm going to go ahead and transfer this and go ahead and pot up some of my plants that need to have larger pots. And already weeds are trying to grow in this pile of soil. Life finds a way, they say. Am I the only one who finds the sound of digging in soil somewhat therapeutic? I love that sound. See what I mean? That sound? Love it. Not so much the cars passing by, but the sound of soil. This is like black gold. I'm going to continue this off screen and I'll be right back. You can't tell how much soil I just dug from here, but I got this pretty full and you can see already grass is trying to grow in here. So I'm going to pick some of this out because I do not want it to grow in my pots. Lots of grass already. So I've got this really large planter that I got for a great deal from Home Depot or Lowe's. They had like a really good special. I talked to you guys about that before. And this is very large. It's way larger than you might think my hand for scale. Okay, so I'm going to fill this up and I'm going to plant some of these beauties. Maybe I might do a little combination in there because those are all in the original pots and they need to be transplanted into something much, much larger. So I'm just going to do the first few scoops one-handed and then I'm going to do the rest off screen. And whenever I see grass, I am plucking those out because I do not want these growing in my containers. Nope, I don't. I need to be much better about weeding. I'm getting a few in there. It's new growth, so I don't think there's going to be a lot of vigor in these little pieces, but still, just to be on the safe side, I'm not planting them in my containers. Okay, so ladies, if you know your husbands, sometimes my husband likes to help and he has planted this too deeply. This was planted already and he saw that there was a waste of space and he's like, oh, let me throw some soil in. Well, that's bad because if you plant it above here, it's going to die. Now I'm going to have to transplant this thing. Oh, thank you for helping. So I'm going to transplant that into here instead because this is a mistake and I don't want this blueberry to die. That would be bad. I tried to tell my husband all I want help with is the hard labor and that I want to do the gardening myself, and this is why. You can't plant up the stems on everything. You can do that with tomatoes and some plants, but this is a mistake. And also, whenever I try to add more soil or something to the blueberries, I do peat moss because they like acidic soil. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and add some peat moss to this soil that I got here. That's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to transplant that, and then that will free up that pot for something else. That's the plan. So here's the peat moss. And I see, I'm not going to dig because I don't want to hurt this lovely little worm. Put the worm in there. Boop. Now I'm going to add peat moss. And I don't want any trolls talking to me about sustainability. I only use peat moss very sparingly. You do have to be careful with plastic showing up in your soil, so pull those out. But I'm gonna kind of hand mix this in a little bit because I don't want to kill the earthworms. And I'm gonna add some more, take out any roots that you see in there. Put a little bit more in here. Okay, time to transplant this big container. I'm dumping the extra soil he put in here back into this other pot. And then I'm going to roll it back and forth and then loosen up the soil to get this out, but I'm going to need 2 hands. Okay, so as I've been putting this in here, I've been ripping out extra stuff because I really do want this to be centered. And it was way off to the side in the other pot. And I'm going to fill this area in with potting soil and peat moss. And I don't want to sound ungrateful. I'm so grateful to my husband for helping me. But I've told him so many times, don't plant up the stalk. And literally there was like this much soil up the branches. When you are trying to work in soil, you can like dig some of the old stuff out and put some in and kind of mix it around. Or you can repot it. But you just can't, if this starts to sink down, you can't just fill it up with more soil. It doesn't work like that with perennials. So, with a lot of perennials, I should say. So I don't want to see this plant die. So I'm going to give it lots of more nutrients. Now it's got a lot of unspent material in the bottom, so it can continue to grow. I dug away all the extra stuff, and I put this in the bottom of the other container that it was in originally. And then I can use this, because a lot of plants, the roots don't always go down to the very bottom of the container. That can fill up the empty space in the bottom. So now I am going to, like I said, work in some peat moss on the sides, right? I'm also going to put some more soil and fill this all in around it. On this side here, I had to lift the plant up and put soil underneath, otherwise this would be really slanted. So I did that, and now I'm basically doing like a scoop of soil, big scoop of soil, and then a couple handfuls of the peat moss. So this is going to be one really happy, grateful blueberry. And you can see it already has fruit on it. So what I'm doing for right now is going to help the overall plant health and the fruiting for next year. It already has fruit now, and that's not going to be like, it's not going to grow me another crop of blueberries. So I'm just going to enjoy what we have from this year, and then next year I'll probably have even more bounty from this plant. So that makes me happy. Okay, and I filled it up to the tippy top. Now that's not really what I'm aiming to do, but I know as I water this, it's going to sink down quite a bit. And it has been sprinkling outside the last couple of days, but it has not been watering deeply. And I don't want any air pockets in my planters. So I'm going to give it a nice drink. While I'm over here, the wood's going to look cool here, but it doesn't look cool now because it's the underside. It has a bunch of gunk just stuck to it. So I'm going to try to wash that off. As I'm working in the yard, I always find lots of little rocks, and these will make good on top of the soil. Now this is going to take a while for it to percolate down because I did overwater, but it won't take long. That's going to settle down. I'm not worried. And now I've got this pot. I'm going to put a little bit more soil in there, and then I'm going to transplant something. I think I'm going to drag that pot there in front of this one here. So this lilac is done flowering for the year, and I can go ahead and cut these off if I want to, or just see what they do. So a lot of people probably showed you this trick, but you basically put the pot inside the other one, and you want it to be level. So if I want this to be up like this, I'm going to have to put some more soil underneath it. So not quite ready to put that in. I got to put a little bit more soil below. I did put a little tiny bit of peat moss in there just for absorbency. Oh, I see a nice big worm in there. Nice. Hope I didn't hurt it. Okay. Now I'll try that again. and that's a lot better. So that's the level I'm going to put it in. I can't really show this one-handed, but I basically squeeze the sides and kind of roll it around in order to be able to lift this out without damaging the roots. You can see it's been really root bound, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of scuff up the roots so it teaches it to go sideways and up and down all over the place so that they can actually expand. When you're scuffing up the roots, you might feel like you're hurting it, but you're really not. You're basically teaching it to move around instead of going around and around in circles. And you are breaking some of them, and that is okay. Make sure you do it to the bottom as well. And then I'm going to plant it like so, and then I'm going to put soil all the way around it, obviously. So I hope I don't... My husband doesn't usually watch my videos, so hopefully he doesn't watch the part where I said he buried my blueberry too deeply. But I've been telling him that for years. I think he was just in a hurry, trying to do as much as he could, as fast as he could, and kind of was an oversight. So can't be angry when I'm getting help, right? Frustrated but not angry. And so if you get help in your garden, whoever, even if it's somebody you pay to help you, you should be an active presence in your garden, checking to see what's going on. That's really important. Because if something went wrong, if somebody helped you in a way that wasn't very helpful, if you wait too long to notice it, it could be too late. Your plant could be dead. So now if your plant dies, you can take cuttings and see if you can propagate some more plants from what's left. So always try to be constructive with the situations in our lives. Make the best of it, you know. A lot of plants grow well from cuttings. I haven't had too much luck with blueberries from cuttings, but I'm sure that's how they grow them. The specialty varieties like pink lemonade, if you have like a special variety, the way they get the same special variety in such abundance is because they are growing from cuttings or grafting. They are genetic, basically twins or clones. So yeah, because you expect there to be some diversity in your plants. So when you get a plant that's exactly like a plant you used to have, a lot of times it's because those plants are clones. And that's something that people have been doing for probably thousands of years, actually. So it's not like new technology necessarily, anyway. I mean, there's a lot of new technology, obviously, but when you hear like hybrid or clone, you might think, oh my gosh, it's terrible. But sometimes certain things, it's like something we've been doing for so long. And it doesn't take advanced tech to do it either. It's like snip, you know, stick in the soil, and there you go. I'm kind of oversimplifying it a little bit, but you know, it's easy. You don't always have to understand the science of it if you know that it works. And then the science is super interesting if you're interested in figuring out why it works. And I think I'm going to leave the tag on for now until I make another tag. But this is Maiden's Bush Lilac. And so I've got that redone, which I've been planning on for a while. I wasn't planning on using that pot, but it's fine. And now I've got the blueberry we planted, which I wasn't planning on redoing, but it's going to get a jump start for next year. And I'm still going to get a fruit set out of it this year. So that's very, very cool. I wasn't expecting the whole blueberry fiasco, but it kind of was a blessing in disguise, since the blueberries really should be up-potted, and they basically have been utilizing all the nutrients that were in that soil. So by up-potting it, it's going to do really good for next year. And I'm still going to get a good fruit set out of it for this year. It's an overcast day, so I shouldn't expect any shock. I watered it in, so there shouldn't be any air pockets. And when you're growing your blueberries, something I learned from somebody, it was a professor, she did some kind of seminar, I think it was Oregon State University, their ag program or something. I watched her on YouTube actually, and she said something about blueberries I didn't know. And I can't figure out who it was because it was so long ago that I watched this. It's probably 10 years ago. But she said that blueberries, the plant, it actually uptakes nutrients in a circular pattern. So if you put all your nutrients on one side, let's say I'm going to put some peat moss in there, or I'm going to water, or whatever I'm going to do on one side, the other half of the plant's going to suffer. So you actually have to put it all the way around. So if you're amending your soil for blueberries, you want to amend it in a circular pattern all the way around so that the roots can get things from all directions. And that's what I did when I potted this. I actually centered it in the container too. It was off-centered in the pot it was in previously, which means that when I'm putting something in, I could only put it like in 3/4 of that pie shape, which is not good for blueberries. So this plant is going to do much, much better now that it has been repotted. So it was a blessing in disguise. Luckily, I noticed it. Otherwise, I could have lost this plant because the soil was very, very good intention. It was a very good intention for my husband to help me. But he saw all that empty space in the pot because the plant kind of sinks down over time. The soil gets more compacted over time. And so he thought, I'm going to help out and throw in a bunch of soil on top of that. But the soil was actually above the stems and the wood of the plant. So I had to shake that all out and repot the plant. And that's fine because it really did need it. But keep an eye on things, and you need to know which plants can handle that. Some plants, if you plant them up higher, they actually will grow roots and it actually helps the plant, but not blueberries. So don't do it to your blueberries. Or your rhodies or your azaleas. As far as I know, I've seen plants die from people doing that. Gardening's not all the glamour it's cracked up to be, but it sure is a lot of fun, and I feel really rejuvenated after replanting the blueberries and the lilacs. I hope you enjoyed spending a little bit of time with me out in the garden. Maybe you learned a few things, or maybe you just feel inspired to do a little bit of things around your home or homestead. I'll see you guys later. Remember, be good, be sweet, and grow a garden if you want to eat. See you next time. Here's a little bonus footage for those of you who stayed to the end of the video. These are timber black walnut seeds that are sprouting. So I went ahead and saved some of these containers from when I bought some plants on clearance. And I'm going to go ahead and plant these in. Now the problem I'm having right now is squirrels. So I'm going to have to be very careful with these, that squirrels don't actually eat them. Yeah, because I had some other plants, some other little nut trees, and they were already sprouting too, and the squirrels thought I was giving them some kind of extra treat. They dug them up and ate them, the whole plant. So I'm going to make sure I put them with something covering them, maybe some wire or under plastic or something. I might even put them in a tote, but I have to be careful that I remember to plant, water them and all that good stuff. So I'm not sure if these are going to make it or not, but I'm going to give them a fighting chance. I bought these seeds from Burnt Ridge Nursery last year, and I had them in a cold trunk, and then I had them in a cold a tote outside as the season warmed up. So they went through all the seasons like they need to, and because they were in the trunk and because they were in a tote, it kept them away, safe from all of the wildlife that would want to eat them. And I did lose some because for a while I had them outside, and quickly realized that the squirrels were not deterred by thin plastic. They chewed right through it. So, and I actually caught them, so I know it was the squirrels. And I'm going to go ahead and water these and then put these somewhere safe. And these are my black timber walnuts. One of the reasons why my garden doesn't look so ship-shape is because I'm always doing stuff like this. I'm going to put this right here next to the blueberries so don't forget about it. And then I've got this little clear container that I'm going to put on top of it so that the squirrels don't know it's there, and that way it's an invisible area for me. Unfortunately, it doesn't look so great. However, you know, fortunately, I won't forget about it because all I have to do is, like so, water it, and I'm good to go. And this should keep the squirrels out, especially if I dig it down a little bit. Make it a little bit less obvious that it's there. I could even put a rock on top of it. Let me see if I can find one. Actually, I'll take some from this planter over here. Maybe this one. Ooh, this will be good. This will be good. That one's good. Now I have to figure out what to do with the other ones. Keep them safe. This is a very temporary fix, but I've been using this underneath some plants, and then I rinsed it out really quick, and I'm going to just place it on top of these to kind of hide the black walnut, timber walnut. And I have to tell my family because otherwise they're going to think I'm just leaving junk in the yard. But that's how I'm going to protect it for now. And then I'm going to see if I can find some more small containers like that, milk jugs or whatever, that are wide enough and tall enough to put on top of these. And then I'll find somewhere to hide them until they're nice and well established. I actually am suspicious of the squirrels, that they might have eaten some. So I really am suspicious of the squirrels. I think they did eat some of my 1-year-old little oak trees, because I looked at the pots and the plants are gone. There's like a hole. And then I had some horse chestnuts that a friend of mine and I gathered, and I planted them temporarily in a container, and those were all dug up and eaten. And the squirrels are suspiciously chunky. Yeah, so especially for this time of year when they tend to look a little bit more slender, before there's an abundance of food anyway. So I'm going to protect the small little nut trees. Those are my timber black walnuts. I've got one there and a couple here. I've got some more nuts too that are either sprouting but not so much that I have to worry about them today. But I'm going to do some updated videos showing you a lot of the other nut trees I'm going to be growing, as well as some annuals and perennials, herbal garden stuff. And at the end of this video, you get the little extra clip of some birds who are visiting me in my garden as I was doing this video. Make sure you click like and subscribe.